The Book of Genesis, Bereshit, Chapter 1. In the beginning, Elohim created the heavens and the earth came to be formless and empty, and darkness was on the face of the deep, and the Spirit of Elohim was moving on the face of the waters. And Elohim said, "Let light come to be." And light came to be. And Elohim saw the light, that it was good. And Elohim separated the light from the darkness. And Elohim called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there came to be evening, and there came to be morning, one day. And Elohim said, "Let an expanse come to be in the midst of the waters, and let it separate the waters from the waters." And Elohim made the expanse, and separated the waters which were under the expanse from the waters which were above the expanse. And it came to be so. And Elohim called the expanse heavens. And there came to be evening, and there came to be morning, the second day. And Elohim said, "Let the waters under the heavens be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear." And it came to be so. And Elohim called the dry land earth, and the collection of the waters he called seas. And Elohim saw that it was good. And Elohim said, "Let the earth bring forth grass, the plant that yields seed, and the fruit tree that yields fruit according to its kind, whose seed is in itself on the earth." And it came to be so. And the earth brought forth grass, the plant that yields seed according to its kind, and the tree that yields fruit, whose seed is in itself according to its kind. And Elohim saw that it was good. And there came to be evening, and there came to be morning, the third day. And Elohim said, "Let lights come to be in the expanse of the heavens, to separate the day from the night, and let them be for signs and appointed times, and for days and years, and let them be for lights in the expanse of the heavens, to give light on the earth." And it came to be so. And Elohim made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night, and the stars. And Elohim set them in the expanse of the heavens to give light on the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to separate the light from the darkness. And Elohim saw that it was good. And there came to be evening, and there came to be morning, the fourth day. And Elohim said, "Let the waters teem with shoals of living beings, and let birds fly above the earth on the face of the expanse of the heavens." And Elohim created great sea creatures, and every living being that moves, with which the waters teemed, according to their kind, and every winged bird according to its kind. And Elohim saw that it was good. And Elohim blessed them, saying, "Be fruitful and increase, and fill the waters in the seas, and let the birds increase on the earth." And there came to be evening, and there came to be morning, the fifth day. And Elohim said, "Let the earth bring forth the living being according to its kind, livestock and creeping creatures, and beasts of the earth according to its kind." And it came to be so. And Elohim made the beasts of the earth according to its kind, livestock according to its kind, and all that creep on the earth according to its kind. And Elohim saw that it was good. And Elohim said, "Let us make man in our image, according to our likeness, and let them rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over the livestock, and over all the earth, and over all the creeping creatures that creep on the ground." And Elohim created the man in his image. In the image of Elohim he created him. Male and female he created them. And Elohim blessed them. And Elohim said to them, "Be fruitful and increase, and fill the earth and subdue it, and rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over all creeping creatures on the earth." And Elohim said, "See, I have given you every plant that yields seed which is on the face of all the earth, and every tree whose fruit yields seed. To you it is for food. And to every beast of the earth, and to every bird of the heavens, and to every creeping creature on the earth, in which there is a living being, every green plant is for food." And it came to be so. And Elohim saw all that he had made, and see, it was very good. And there came to be evening, and there came to be morning, the sixth day. Chapter 2. Thus the heavens and the earth were completed in all their array, And in the seventh day, Elohim completed his work which he had done, and he rested in the seventh day from all his work which he had made. And Elohim blessed the seventh day and set it apart, because on it he rested from all his work which Elohim in creating had made. These are the births of the heavens and the earth when they were created, in the day that Yahuwah Elohim made earth and heavens. Now no shrub of the field was yet on the earth, and no plant of the field had yet sprung up, for Yahuwah Elohim had not sent rain on the earth, and there was no man to till the ground. But a mist went up from the earth and watered the entire surface of the ground. And Yahuwah Elohim formed the man out of dust from the ground and breathed into his nostrils breath of lives, and the man became a living being. And Yahuwah Elohim planted a garden in Eden to the east, and there he put the man whom he had formed. And out of the ground Yahuwah Elohim made every tree grow that is pleasant to the sight and good for food, with the tree of life in the midst of the garden, and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And a river went out of Eden to water the garden, and from there it divided and became 4 heads. The name of the first is Pishon. It is the one surrounding the entire land of Havilah, where there is gold. And the gold of that land is good. Bdellium is there, and the Shochem stone. And the name of the second river is Gihon. It is the one surrounding the entire land of Cush. And the name of the third river is Hiddekel. It is the one which goes toward the east of Asher. And the fourth river is the Euphrates. And Yahuwah Elohim took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden, to work it, and to guard it. And Yahuwah Elohim commanded the man, saying, Eat of every tree of the garden, but do not eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, for in the day that you eat of it you shall certainly die. And Yahuwah Elohim said, It is not good for the man to be alone. I am going to make a helper for him as his counterpart. And from the ground Yahuwah Elohim formed every beast of the field and every bird of the heavens, and brought them to the man to see what he would call them. And whatever the man called each living being, that was its name. So the man gave names to all livestock, and to the birds of the heavens, and to every beast of the field. But for the man there was not found a helper for him, as his counterpart. So Yahuwah Elohim caused a deep sleep to fall on the man, and he slept. And he took one of his ribs, and closed up the flesh in its place. And the rib which Yahuwah Elohim had taken from the man, he made into a woman, and he brought her to the man. And the man said, This is now bone of my bones, and flesh of my flesh. This one is called woman, because she was taken out of man. For this cause a man shall leave his father and mother, and cleave to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. And they were both naked, the man and his wife, yet they were not ashamed. Chapter 3. And the Nachash was more crafty than all the lives of the fields which Yahuwah Elohim had made. And he said to the woman, Is it true that Elohim has said, Do not eat of every tree of the garden? And the woman said to the Nachash, We are to eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, Elohim has said, Do not eat of it, nor touch it, lest you die. And the Nachash said to the woman, You shall not certainly die, for Elohim knows that in the day you eat of it, your eyes shall be open, and you shall be like Elohim, knowing good and evil. And the woman saw that the tree was good for food, that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree desirable to make one wise. And she took of its fruit, and ate. And she also gave to her husband with her, and he ate. Then the eyes of both of them were open, and they knew that they were naked. And they sewed fig leaves together, and made loin coverings for themselves. And they heard the voice of Yahuwah Elohim walking about in the garden toward the wind of the day. And Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of Yahuwah Elohim among the trees of the garden. And Yahuwah Elohim called unto Adam and said to him, Where are you? And he said, I heard your voice in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid myself. And he said, Who made you know that you were naked? Have you eaten of the tree which I commanded that you should not eat? And the man said, The woman whom you gave to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and I ate. And Yahuwah Elohim said to the woman, What is this you have done? And the woman said, The Nachash deceived me, and I ate. And Yahuwah Elohim said to the Nachash, Because you have done this, you are cursed, more than all livestock, and more than every beast of the field. On your belly you are to go, and eat dust all the days of your life. And I put enmity between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. He shall crush your head, and you shall crush his heel. To the woman he said, I greatly increase your sorrow and your conception. Bring forth children in pain. And your desire is for your husband, and he does rule over you. And to the man he said, Because you have listened to the voice of your wife, and have eaten of the tree which I commanded you, saying, Do not eat of it. Cursed is the ground because of you. In toil you are to eat of it all the days of your life. And the ground shall bring forth thorns and thistles for you, and you shall eat the plants of the field. By the sweat of your face you are to eat bread until you return to the ground, for out of it you were taken. For dust you are, and to dust you return. And the man called his wife's name Hawa, because she became the mother of all living. And Yahuwah Elohim made coats of skin for the man and his wife, and dressed them. And Yahuwah Elohim said, See, the man has become like one of us, to know good and evil. And now, lest he put out his hand and take also of the tree of life and eat and live forever. So Yahuwah Elohim sent him out of the Garden of Eden to till the ground from which he was taken. And he drove the man out, and he placed cherubim at the east of the Garden of Eden, and a flaming sword which turned every way to guard the way to the tree of life. Chapter 4. And Adam knew Hawa his wife, and she conceived and bore Cain, and said, I have gained a man, Yahuwah. And again she gave birth to his brother Habel. And Habel became a keeper of sheep, but Cain became a tiller of the ground. And it came to be in the course of time that Cain brought an offering of the fruit of the ground to Yahuwah. And Habel also brought of the firstborn of his flock and of their fat. And Yahuwah looked to Habel for his offering, but he did not look to Cain and his offering. And Cain was very wroth, and his face fell. And Yahuwah said to Cain, Why is he wroth towards you? And why is your face fallen? Is it not if you do good, you are to be accepted? And if you do not do good, towards the door is a sin. He is lying, and towards you is his desire, and you must rule over him. And Cain told Abel his brother, and it came to be when they were in the field that Cain rose up against Habel his brother and killed him. And Yahuwah said to Cain, Where is Habel your brother? And he said, I do not know. Am I my brother's guard? And he said, What have you done? The voice of your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground, and now you are cursed from the earth, which has opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. If you till the ground, it shall no longer yield its strength to you. You shall be a fugitive and a wanderer on the earth. And Cain said to Yahuwah, My punishment is too great to bear. See, you have driven me from the face of the ground today, and I am hidden from your face. I shall be a fugitive and a wanderer on the earth. It shall be that anyone who finds me kills me. And Yahuwah said to him, Well, if anyone kills Cain, he shall be avenged sevenfold. And Yahuwah set up a sign for Cain, lest anyone finding him strikes him. So Cain went from the presence of Yahuwah, and dwelt in the land of Nod on the east of Eden. And Cain knew his wife, and she conceived and bore Hanok. And he built a city, and called the name of the city after the name of his son, Hanok. And to Hanok was born Irad, and Irad brought forth Mehuiel, and Mehuiel brought forth Methushalel, and Methushalel brought forth Lamech. And Lamech took for himself 2 wives. The name of the one was Adah, and the name of the second was Zillah. And Adah bore Yabal. He was the father of those who dwell in tents with livestock. And his brother's name was Ual. He was the father of those who play the lyre and flute. As for Zillah, she also bore Tubal-Cain, a smith of all kinds of tools in bronze and iron. And the sister of Tubal-Cain was Naamah. And Lamech said to his wives, Adah and Zillah, hear my voice. Wives of Lamech, listen to my words. For I have killed a man for wounding me, even a young man for hurting me. For Cain is avenged sevenfold, and Lamech 77-fold. And Adam knew his wife again, and she bore a son and called his name Sheth. For Elohim has appointed me another seed instead of Havel, because Cain had killed him. And to Sheth, to him also a son was born, and he called his name Enosh. Then it was begun to call on the name of Yahuwah. Chapter 5. This is the book of the genealogy of Adam. In the day that Elohim created man, he made him in the likeness of Elohim. Male and female he created them, and he blessed them and called their name Adam, in the day they were created. And Adam lived 130 years, and brought forth a son in his own likeness, after his image, and called his name Sheth. And after he brought forth Sheth, the days of Adam were 800 years, and he brought forth sons and daughters. So all the days that Adam lived were 930 years, and he died. And Sheth lived 105 years, and brought forth Enosh. And after he brought forth Enosh, Sheth lived 807 years, and brought forth sons and daughters. So all the days of Sheth were 912 years, and he died. And Enosh lived 90 years, and brought forth Cainan. And after he brought forth Cainan, Enosh lived 815 years, and brought forth sons and daughters. So all the days of Enosh were 905 years, and he died. And Cainan lived 70 years, and brought forth Mahalalel. After he brought forth Mahalalel, Cainan lived 840 years, and brought forth sons and daughters. So all the days of Cainan were 910 years, and he died. And Mahalalel lived 65 years, and brought forth Yared. And after he brought forth Yared, Mahalalel lived 830 years, and brought forth sons and daughters. So all the days of Mahalalel were 895 years, and he died. And Yared lived 162 years, and brought forth Hanok. And after he brought forth Hanok, Yared lived 800 years, and brought forth sons and daughters. So all the days of Yared were 962 years, and he died. And Hanok lived 65 years, and brought forth Methuselah. And after he brought forth Methuselah, Hanok walked with Elohim 300 years, and brought forth sons and daughters. So all the days of Hanok were 365 years, and Hanok walked with Elohim. Then he was no more, for Elohim took him. And Methuselah lived 187 years, and brought forth Lamech. And after he brought forth Lamech, Methuselah lived 782 years, and brought forth sons and daughters. So all the days of Methuselah were 969 years, and he died. And Lamech lived 182 years, and brought forth a son, and called his name Noah, saying, This one does comfort us concerning our work, and the toil of our hands, because of the ground which Yahuwah has cursed. And after he brought forth Noah, Lamech lived 595 years, and brought forth sons and daughters. So all the days of Lamech were 777 years, and he died. And Noah was 500 years old. And Noah brought forth Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Chapter 6. And it came to be, when men began to increase on the face of the earth, and daughters were born to them, that the sons of Elohim saw the daughters of men that they were good, and that they took wives for themselves of all whom they chose. And Yahuwah said, My spirit shall not strive with man forever, in his going astray. He is flesh, and his days shall be 120 years. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of Elohim came into the daughters of men, and they bore children to them. Those were the mighty men who were of old, the men of name. And Yahuwah saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And Yahuwah was sorry that he had made man on the earth, and he was grieved in his heart. And Yahuwah said, I am going to wipe off man, whom I created from the face of the ground, both man and beast, creeping creature, and birds of the heavens, for I am sorry that I have made them. But Noach found favor in the eyes of Yahuwah. This is the genealogy of Noach. Noach was a righteous man, perfect in his generations. Noach walked with Elohim. And Noach brought forth 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And the earth was corrupt before Elohim, and the earth was filled with violence. And Elohim looked upon the earth and saw that it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted their way on the earth. And Elohim said to Noah, The end of all flesh has come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them. And see, I am going to destroy them from the earth. Make yourself an ark of gopher wood. Make rooms in the ark, covering it inside and outside with a covering. And this is how you are to make it. The length of the ark is 300 cubits, its width 50 cubits, and its height 30 cubits. Make a window for the ark, and complete it to a cubit from above, and set the door of the ark in its side. Make it with lower, second, and third decks. And see, I myself am bringing floodwaters on the earth, to destroy all flesh in which is the breath of life from under the heavens. All that is on the earth is to die. And I shall establish my covenant with you, and you shall come into the ark, you and your sons and your wife and your sons' wives with you. And of all the living, of all flesh, 2 of each you are to bring into the ark, to keep them alive with you, a male and a female, of the birds after their kind, and of the cattle after their kind, and of all the creeping creatures of the ground, after their kind, 2 of each are to come to you, to keep them alive. As for you, take of all food that is eaten, and gather it to yourself, and it shall be food for you and for them. And Noach did according to all that Elohim commanded him. So he did. Chapter 7. And Yahuwah said to Noach, Come into the ark, you and all your household, because I have seen that you are righteous before me in this generation. Of all the clean beasts take with you 7 pairs, a male and his female. And of the beasts that are unclean 2, a male and his female. And of birds of the heavens 7 pairs, male and female, to keep offspring alive on the face of all the earth. For after 7 more days I am sending rain on the earth, 40 days and 40 nights, and shall wipe from the face of the earth all that stand that I created. And Noach did according to all that Yahuwah commanded him. Now Noach was 600 years old when the flood waters were on the earth. And Noach and his sons and his wife and his sons' wives went into the ark because of the waters of the flood. Of the clean beasts and of the beasts that are unclean, and of the birds and of all that creep on the earth, 2 by 2 they went into the ark to Noach, male and female, as Elohim had commanded Noach. And it came to be after 7 days that the waters of the flood were on the earth. In the 600th year of Noach's life, in the 2nd new moon, the 17th day of the new moon, on that day all the fountains of the great deep were broken up, and the windows of the heavens were open. And the rain was on the earth 40 days and 40 nights. On that same day Noach and Shem and Ham and Japheth, the sons of Noach, and Noach's wife, and the 3 wives of his sons with them, went into the ark. They and every life form after its kind, and every beast after its kind, and every creeping creature that creeps on the earth after its kind, and every bird after its kind, every bird of every wing. And they went into the ark to Noach, 2 by 2, of all flesh in which is the breath of life. And those going in, male and female of all flesh, went in as Elohim had commanded him. And Yahuwah shut him in. And the flood was on the earth 40 days, and the waters increased and lifted up the ark, and it rose high above the earth. And the waters were mighty and greatly increased on the earth, and the ark moved about on the surface of the waters. And the waters were exceedingly mighty on the earth, and all the high mountains under all the heavens were covered. The waters became mighty, 15 cubits upward, and the mountains were covered. And all flesh died, the creeping creatures on the earth, birds and cattle, and beasts, and every swarming creature that swarms on the earth, and all mankind. All in whose nostrils was the breath of the Spirit of life, all that was on the dry land died. So he wiped off all that stand, which were on the face of the ground, both man and beast, creeping creature and bird of the heavens. And they were wiped off from the earth, and only Noah was left, and those with him in the ark. And the waters were mighty on the earth 150 days. Chapter 8. And Elohim remembered Noah, and all the beasts and all the cattle that were with him in the ark. And Elohim made a wind to pass over the earth, and the waters subsided. And the fountains of the deep and the windows of the heavens were stopped, and the rain from the heavens was withheld, and the waters receded steadily from the earth. And at the end of the 150 days the waters diminished. And in the 7th new moon, the 17th day of the new moon, the ark rested on the mountains of Ararat. And the waters decreased steadily until the 10th new moon. In the 10th new moon, on the 1st day of the new moon, the tops of the mountains became visible. And it came to be at the end of 40 days that Noah opened the window of the ark which he had made, and he sent out a raven, which kept going out and turning back until the waters had dried up from the earth. Then he sent out a dove from him to see if the waters had receded from the face of the ground. But the dove found no resting place for its feet, and returned into the ark to him, for the waters were on the face of all the earth. So he put out his hand and took it, and pulled it into the ark to himself. And he waited yet another 7 days, and again he sent the dove out from the ark. And the dove came to him in the evening, and see, a freshly plucked olive leaf was in its mouth. And Noah knew that the waters had receded from the earth. And he waited yet another 7 days, and he sent out the dove, which did not return to him again. And it came to be in the 601st year, in the 1st month, the 1st day of the new moon, that the waters were dried up from the earth. And Noah removed the covering of the ark, and looked, and saw the surface of the ground was dry. And in the 2nd new moon, on the 27th day of the new moon, the earth was dry. And Elohim spoke to Noah, saying, Go out of the ark, you and your wife and your sons wives with you. Bring out with you every life form of all the flesh that is with you, of birds, of cattle, and all creeping creatures, the creeping creatures on the earth, and let them teem on the earth and bear and increase on the earth. So Noah went out, and his sons and his wife and his sons' wives with him, every beast, every creeping creature, and every bird, whatever creeps on the earth according to their kinds, went out of the ark. And Noah built a slaughter place to Yahuwah, and took of every clean beast and of every clean bird, and offered ascending offerings on the slaughter place. And Yahuwah smelled a soothing fragrance. And Yahuwah said in his heart, Never again shall I curse the ground because of man, although the inclination of man's heart is evil from his youth, and never again strike all living creatures as I have done. As long as the earth remains, seed time and harvest, and cold and heat, and summer and winter, and day and night shall not cease. Chapter 9. And Elohim blessed Noah and his sons, and said to them, Be fruitful and increase and fill the earth. And the fear of you and the dread of you is on every beast of the earth, on every bird of the heavens, on all that creeps on the ground, and on all the fish of the sea. Into your hand they have been given. Every creeping creature that lives is food for you. I have given you all, as I gave the green plants. But do not eat flesh with its life, its blood, but only your blood for your lives I require. From the hand of every beast I require it, and from the hand of man. From the hand of every man's brother I require the life of man. Whoever sheds man's blood, by man his blood is shed, for in the image of Elohim has he made man. As for you, be fruitful and increase. Bring forth teemingly in the earth and increase in it. And Elohim spoke to Noah and to his sons with him, saying, And I establish my covenant with you, and with your seed after you, and with every living being that is with you, of the birds, of the cattle, and of every beast of the earth with you, of all that go out of the ark, every beast of the earth. And I shall establish my covenant with you, and never again is all flesh cut off by the waters of the flood, and never again is there a flood to destroy the earth. And Elohim said, This is the sign of the covenant which I make between me and you, and every living being that is with you, for all generations to come. I shall set my rainbow in the cloud, and it shall be for the sign of the covenant between me and the earth. And it shall be, when I bring a cloud over the earth, that the rainbow shall be seen in the cloud. And I shall remember my covenant which is between me and you and every living being of all flesh, and never again let the waters become a flood to destroy all flesh. And the rainbow shall be in the cloud, and I shall see it, to remember the everlasting covenant between Elohim and every living being of all flesh that is on the earth. And Elohim said to Noah, This is the sign of the covenant which I have established between me and all flesh that is on the earth. And the sons of Noah who went out of the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And Ham was the father of Canaan. These three were the sons of Noah, and all the earth was overspread from them. And Noah, a man of the soil, began and planted a vineyard, and he drank of the wine and was drunk, and became uncovered in his tent. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father, and told his two brothers outside. So Shem and Japheth took a garment, laid it on both their shoulders, and went backward and covered the nakedness of their father. But their faces were turned away, and they did not see their father's nakedness. And Noah awoke from his wine, and he knew what his younger son had done to him. And he said, Cursed is Canaan! Let him become a servant of servants to his brothers. And he said, Blessed be Yahuwah, the Elohim of Shem, and let Canaan become his servant. Let Elohim enlarge Japheth, and let him dwell in the tents of Shem, and let Canaan become his servant. And Noah lived after the flood 350 years. So all the days of Noah were 950 years, and he died. Chapter 10. And this is the genealogy of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And sons were born to them after the flood. The sons of Japheth, Gomer, and Magog, and Madai, and Yawan, and Tubal, and Meshech, and Tiras. And the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz, and Riphath, and Togarmah. And the sons of Yawan, Elisha, and Tarshish, Kittim, and Dodanim. From these the coastlands peoples of the nations were separated into their lands, everyone according to his language, according to their clans, into their nations. And the sons of Ham, Cush, and Mitzrayim, and Put, and Canaan. And the sons of Cush, Seba, and Hawilah, and Sabta, and Ramah, and Sabteka. And the sons of Ramah, Sheba, and Dedan. And Cush brought forth Nimrod. He began to be a mighty one on the earth. He was a mighty hunter before Yahuwah. Therefore it was said, Like Nimrod, the mighty hunter before Yahuwah. And the beginning of his reign was Babel, and Erech, and Akkad, and Calneh, in the land of Shinar. From that land he went to Ashur, and built Nineveh, and Rehoboth, Ir, and Keilah, and Rasen between Nineveh and Keilah, the great city. And Mitzrayim brought forth Ludim, and Anamim, and Lechabim, and Naphtuchim, and Pathrusim, and Kasulachim, from whom came the Philistines, and Kaphtorim. And Canaan brought forth Zidon, his firstborn, and Heth, and the Jebusite, and the Amorite, and the Girgashite, and the Hivite, and the Arkite, and the Sinite, and the Arwadite, and the Tesmarite, and the Hamathite. And afterward the clans of the Canaanites were spread abroad. And the border of the Canaanites was from Zidon, as you go toward Gerar, as far as Azah, as you go toward Sodom, and Amorah, and Admah, and Zeboim, as far as Lasha. These were the sons of Ham, according to their clans, according to their languages, in their lands, in their nations. And also to Shem, the father of all the children of Eber, the brother of Japheth, the elder. Children were born. The sons of Shem, Elam, and Asher, and Arpachshad, and Lud, and Aram. And the sons of Aram, Uz, and Hul, and Gether, and Mash. And Arpachshad brought forth Shelach, and Shelach brought forth Eber. And to Eber were born 2 sons. The name of one was Peleg, for in his days the earth was divided. And his brother's name was Yoktan. And Yoktan brought forth Almodad, and Sheleph, and Hatzermalweth, and Yerach, and Hadoram, and Uzal, and Diklah, and Obal, and Abimael, and Sheba, and Ophir, and Hawilah, and Yobab. All these were sons of Yoktan, and their dwelling place was from Misha, as you go towards Sephar, a mountain of the east. These were the sons of Shem, according to their clans, according to their languages, in their lands, according to their nations. These were the clans of the sons of Noah, according to their generations, in their nations. And from these the nations were divided on the earth after the flood. Chapter 11. And all the earth had one language and one speech. And it came to be as they set out from the east, that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they said to each other, "Come, let us make bricks and bake them thoroughly." And they had brick for stone, and they had asphalt for mortar. And they said, "Come, let us build a city and a tower, whose top is in the heavens, and make a name for ourselves, lest we be scattered over all the face of the earth." Then Yahuwah came down to see the city and the tower which the sons of men had built. And Yahuwah said, "Look, they are one people, and they all have one language, and this is what they begin to do. And now they are not going to be withheld from doing whatever they plan to do. Come, let us go there and confuse their language so that they do not understand one another's speech." And Yahuwah scattered them from there over the face of all the earth, and they left off building the city. That is why its name is called Babel, because there Yahuwah confused the language of all the earth, and from there Yahuwah scattered them over the face of all the earth. This is the genealogy of Shem. Shem was 100 years old and brought forth Arpachshad, 2 years after the flood. And after he brought forth Arpachshad, Shem lived 500 years and brought forth sons and daughters. And Arpachshad lived 35 years and brought forth Shelach. And after he brought forth Shelach, Arpachshad lived 403 years and brought forth sons and daughters. And Shelach lived 30 years and brought forth Eber. And after he brought forth Eber, Shelach lived 403 years and brought forth sons and daughters. And Eber lived 34 years and brought forth Peleg. And after he brought forth Peleg, Eber lived 430 years and brought forth sons and daughters. And Peleg lived 30 years and brought forth Reu. And after he brought forth Reu, Peleg lived 209 years and brought forth sons and daughters. And Reu lived 32 years and brought forth Serug. And after he brought forth Serug, Reu lived 207 years and brought forth sons and daughters. And Serug lived 30 years and brought forth Nahor. And after he brought forth Nahor, Serug lived 200 years and brought forth sons and daughters. And Nahor lived 29 years and brought forth Terach. And after he brought forth Terach, Nahor lived 119 years and brought forth sons and daughters. And Terach lived 70 years and brought forth Avram, Nahor, and Haran. And this is the genealogy of Terach. Terach brought forth Avram, Nahor, and Haran. And Haran brought forth Lot. And Haran died before his father Terach in the land of his birth, in Ur-Kasdim. And Abram and Nahor took wives. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai, and the name of Nahor's wife, Milcah, the daughter of Haran, the father of Milcah, and the father of Yiscah. And Sarai was barren. She had no child. And Terach took his son Avram, and his grandson Lot, son of Haran, and his daughter-in-law Sarai, his son Abram's wife. And they went out with them from Ur-Kasdim to go to the land of Canaan. And they came to Haran and dwelt there. And the days of Terach came to be 205 years, and Terach died in Haran. Chapter 12. And Yahuwah said to Abram, Go yourself out of your land, from your relatives and from your father's house, to a land which I show you. And I shall make you a great nation, and bless you, and make your name great, and you shall be a blessing. And I shall bless those who bless you, and curse him who curses you. And in you all the clans of the earth shall be blessed. So Abram left as Yahuwah commanded him, and Lot went with him. And Abram was 75 years old when he set out from Haran. And Abram took Sarai his wife, and Lot his brother's son, and all their possessions that they had gathered, and the beings whom they had acquired in Haran, and they set out for the land of Canaan. And they came to the land of Canaan. And Abram passed through the land to the place of Shechem, as far as the terebinth trees of Moreh. At that time the Canaanites were in the land. And Yahuwah appeared to Abram and said, To your seed I give this land. And he built there a slaughter place to Yahuwah, who had appeared to him. And from there he moved to the mountain east of Bethel. And he pitched his tent, with Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. And he built there a slaughter place to Yahuwah, and called on the name of Yahuwah. And Abram set out, continuing toward the south. And a scarcity of food came to be in the land, and Abram went down to Mitzrayim to sojourn there, for the scarcity of food was severe in the land. And it came to be when he was close to entering Mitzrayim that he said to Sarai his wife, See, I know that you are a beautiful woman to look at. And it shall be when the Mitzrites see you, that they shall say, This is his wife. And they shall kill me, but let you live. Please, say you are my sister, so that it shall be well with me for your sake, and my life be spared because of you. And it came to be when Abram came into Mitzrayim, that the Mitzrites saw the woman, that she was very beautiful. And Pharaoh's officials saw her and praised her before Pharaoh. And the woman was taken to Pharaoh's house. And he treated Abram well for her sake. And he had sheep and cattle and male donkeys and male and female servants and female donkeys and camels. But Yahuwah plagued Pharaoh and his house with great plagues because of Sarai, Abram's wife. And Pharaoh called Abram and said, What is this you have done to me? Why did you not inform me that she was your wife? Why did you say she is my sister? And so I was going to take her for my wife. Look, here is your wife, take her and go. And Pharaoh commanded his men concerning him, and they sent him away with his wife and all that he had. Chapter 13. And Abram went up from Mitzrayim into the south, he and his wife and all that he had, and Lot with him. And Abram was very rich in livestock, in silver and in gold. And he went on his journey from the south as far as Bethel, to the place where his tent had been at the beginning, between Bethel and Ai, to the place of the slaughter place, which he had made there at first. And there Abram called on the name of Yahuwah. Now Lot, who went with Abram, also had flocks and herds and tents, and the land was not able to bear them, that they might dwell together, for their possessions were great, so that they could not dwell together. And there was strife between the herdsmen of Abram's livestock and the herdsmen of Lot's livestock. And at that time the Canaanites and the Perizzites dwelt in the land. Then Abram said to Lot, Let there be no strife between you and me, and between my herdsmen and your herdsmen, for we are brothers. Is not all the land before you? Please separate from me. If you take the left, then I go to the right, or if you go to the right, then I go to the left. And Lot lifted his eyes and saw all the plain of the Yarden, that it was well watered everywhere, before Yahuwah destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, like the garden of Yahuwah, like the land of Mitzrayim as you go towards Zoar. So Lot chose for himself all the plain of the Yarden, and Lot moved east. Thus they separated from each other, Abram dwelling in the land of Canaan, and Lot dwelling in the cities of the plain, and pitched his tent as far as Sodom. But the men of Sodom were evil, and sinned before Yahuwah, exceedingly so. And after Lot had separated from him, Yahuwah said to Abram, Now lift up your eyes, and look from the place where you are, northward, and southward, and eastward, and westward, for all the land which you see I shall give to you and your seed forever. And I shall make your seed as the dust of the earth, so that if a man could count the dust of the earth, then your seed also could be counted. Arise, walk in the land through its length and its width, for I give it to you. So Abram moved his tent, and went and dwelt by the terebinth trees of Mamre, which are in Hebron, and built a slaughter place there to Yahuwah. Chapter 14. And it came to be in the days of Amraphel, sovereign of Shinar, Arioch, sovereign of Eliezer, Kedorlaomer, sovereign of Elam, and Tidal, sovereign of Goyim, that they fought against Beerah, sovereign of Sodom, Bersha, sovereign of Amorah, Shinab, sovereign of Admah, and Shema-eber, sovereign of Zeboim, and the sovereign of Bela, that is the Or. All these joined together in the valley of Siddim, that is the salt sea. 12 years they served Kedorlaomer, and in the 13th year they rebelled. And in the 14th year Kedorlaomer and the sovereigns that were with him came and struck the Rephaim in Ashtaroth Karnaim, and the Zuzim in Ham, and the Emites in Shaweh, Kiriathaim, and the Horites in their mountain of Seir, as far as El Paran, which is by the wilderness. And they turned back and came to En Mishpat, that is Kadesh, and struck all the country of the Amalekites, and also the Amorites who dwelt in Hotzetzon Tamar, and the sovereign of Sodom, and the sovereign of Amorah, and the sovereign of Admah, and the sovereign of Zeboim, and the sovereign of Bela, that is Or, went out and joined together in battle in the valley of Siddim, against Kedorlaomer, sovereign of Elam, and Tidal, sovereign of Goyim, and Amraphel, sovereign of Shinar, and Arioch, sovereign of Eliezer, 4 sovereigns against 5. And the valley of Siddim had many tar pits, and the sovereigns of Sodom and Amorah fled and fell there, and the remainder fled to the mountains. And they took all the goods of Sodom and Amorah, and all their food, and went away. And they took Lot, Abram's brother's son, who dwelt in Sodom, and his goods, and left. And one who had escaped came and informed Abram the Hebrew, for he dwelt by the terebinth trees of Mamre, the Amorite, brother of Eshcol, and brother of Aner, and they had a covenant with Abram. And when Abram heard that his brother was taken captive, he armed his 318 trained servants who were born in his own house, and went in pursuit as far as Dan. And he and his servants divided against them by night, and struck them, and pursued them as far as Hobah, which is on the left of Damascus. And he brought back all the goods, and also brought back his brother Lot and his goods, as well as the women and the people. And after his return from the striking of Kedorlaomer and the sovereigns who were with him, the sovereign of Sodom came out to meet him at the valley of Shaweh, that is the sovereign's valley. And Melchizedek, sovereign of Shalem, brought out bread and wine. Now he was the priest of the Most High El, and he blessed him and said, Blessed be Abram, of the Most High El, possessor of the heavens and the earth, and blessed be the Most High El, who has delivered your enemies into your hand. And he gave him 1/10 of all. And the sovereign of Sodom said to Abram, Give me the people, and take the goods for yourself. But Abram said to the sovereign of Sodom, I have lifted my hand to Yahuwah, the Most High El, the possessor of the heavens and earth, not to take a thread or a sandal strap or whatever is yours, lest you should say, I have made Abram rich, except only what the young men have eaten, and the portion of the men who went with me, Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre. Let them take their portion. Chapter 15. After these events, the word of Yahuwah came to Abram in a vision, saying, Do not be afraid, Abram. I am your shield. Your reward is exceedingly great. And Abram said, Master Yahuwah, what would you give me, seeing I go childless, and the heir of my house is Eleazar of Damascus? And Abram said, See, you have given me no seed, and see, one born in my house is my heir. And see, the word of Yahuwah came to him, saying, This one is not your heir, but he who comes from your own body is your heir. And he brought him outside and said, Look now toward the heavens, and count the stars if you are able to count them. And he said to him, So are your seed. And he believed in Yahuwah, and he reckoned it to him for righteousness. And he said to him, I am Yahuwah, who brought you out of Ur-Kasdim to give you this land to inherit it. And he said, Master Yahuwah, whereby do I know that I possess it? And he said to him, Bring me a 3-year-old heifer, and a 3-year-old female goat, and a 3-year-old ram, and a turtle dove, and a young pigeon. And he took all these to him, and cut them in the middle, and placed each half opposite the other, but he did not cut the birds. And the birds of prey came down on the carcasses, and Abram drove them away. And it came to be when the sun was going down, and a deep sleep fell upon Abram, that see, a frightening great darkness fell upon him. And he said to Abram, Know for certain that your seed are to be sojourners in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. But the nation whom they serve I am going to judge, and afterward let them come out with great possessions. Now as for you, you are to go to your fathers in peace. You are to be buried at a good old age. Then in the 4th generation they shall return here, for the crookedness of the Amorites is not yet complete. And it came to be when the sun went down, and it was dark, that see a smoking oven and a burning torch passing between those pieces. On the same day Yahuwah made a covenant with Abram, saying, I have given this land to your seed, from the river of Mitzrayim to the great river, the river Euphrates, with the Canaanite, and the Kenizzite, and the Cadmonite, and the Hittite, and the Perizzite, and the Rephaim, and the Amorite, and the Canaanite, and the Girgashite, and the Jebusite. Chapter 16. And Sarai, Abram's wife, had borne him no child, and she had a Mitzrite female servant whose name was Hagar. And Sarai said to Abram, See, Yahuwah has kept me from bearing children. Please, go into my female servant. It might be that I am built up by her. And Abram listened to the voice of Sarai. And Sarai, Abram's wife, took Hagar her female servant, the Mitzrite, and gave her to her husband Abram to be his wife, after Abram had dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan. And he went in to Hagar, and she conceived. And when she saw that she had conceived, her mistress was despised in her eyes. And Sarai said to Abram, My wrong be upon you. I gave my female servant into your bosom, and when she saw that she had conceived, I was despised in her eyes. Let Yahuwah judge between you and me. And Abram said to Sarai, See, your female servant is in your hand. Do to her what's good in your eyes. And Sarai treated her harshly, and she fled from her presence. And the messenger of Yahuwah found her by a spring of water in the wilderness, by the spring on the way to Shur. And he said, Hagar, Sarai's female servant, where have you come from, and where are you going? And she said, I am fleeing from the presence of Sarai, my mistress. And the messenger of Yahuwah said to her, Return to your mistress, and humble yourself under her hand. And the messenger of Yahuwah said to her, I am going to increase your seed greatly, too numerous to be counted. And the messenger of Yahuwah said to her, See, you are conceiving and bearing a son, and shall call his name Ishmael, because Yahuwah has heard your affliction, and he is to be a wild man, his hand against everyone, and everyone's hand against him, and dwell over against all his brothers. And she called the name of Yahuwah who spoke to her, You are the El who sees. For she said, Even here I have seen after him who sees me. That is why the well was called Be'er Lahai Roi. See, it is between Kadesh and Bered. And Hagar bore Abram a son, And Abram called the name of his son, whom Hagar bore, Ishmael. And Abram was 86 years old when Hagar bore Ishmael to Abram. Chapter 17. And it came to be when Abram was 99 years old, that Yahuwah appeared to Abram and said to him, I am El Shaddai. Walk before me and be perfect. And I give my covenant between me and you, and shall greatly increase you. And Abram fell on his face, and Elohim spoke with him, saying, As for me, look, my covenant is with you, and you shall become a father of many nations. And no longer is your name called Abram, but your name shall be called Abraham, because I shall make you a father of many nations, and I shall make you exceedingly fruitful, and make nations of you, and sovereigns shall come from you. And I shall establish my covenant between me and you and your seed after you in their generations, for an everlasting covenant, to be Elohim to you, and your seed after you. And I shall give to you and your seed after you the land of your sojournings, all the land of Canaan, as an everlasting possession, and I shall be their Elohim. And Elohim said to Abraham, As for you, guard my covenant, you and your seed after you throughout their generations. This is my covenant which you guard between me and your seed after you. Every male among you is to be circumcised, and you shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall become a sign of the covenant between me and you. And a son of 8 days is circumcised by you, every male in your generations. He who is born in your house, or bought with silver from any foreigner who is not of your seed. He who is born in your house, and he who is bought with your silver has to be circumcised. So shall my covenant be in your flesh, for an everlasting covenant. And an uncircumcised male, who is not circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin, his life shall be cut off from his people. He has broken my covenant. And Elohim said to Abraham, As for Sarai your wife, do not call her name Sarai, for Sarah is her name. And I shall bless her, and also give you a son by her. And I shall bless her, and she shall become nations. Sovereigns of peoples are to be from her. And Abraham fell on his face and laughed, and said in his heart, Is a child born to a man who is 100 years old? Or is Sarah, who is 90 years old, to bear a child? And Abraham said to Elohim, Oh, let Ishmael live before you. And Elohim said, No, Sarah your wife is truly bearing a son to you, and you shall call his name Yitzhak. And I shall establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant, and with his seed after him. And as for Ishmael, I have heard you. See, I shall bless him, and shall make him fruitful, and greatly increase him. He is to bring forth 12 princes, and I shall make him a great nation. But my covenant I establish with Yitzhak, whom Sarah is to bear to you at this appointed time next year. And when he had ended speaking with him, Elohim went up from Abraham. And Abraham took Ishmael his son, and all those born in his house, and all those bought with his silver, every male among the men of Abraham's house, and circumcised the flesh of their foreskins that same day, as Elohim told him. And Abraham was 99 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin, and Ishmael his son was 13 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. Abraham and his son Ishmael were circumcised that same day, and all the men of his house, born in the house or bought with silver from a foreigner, were circumcised with him. Chapter 18. And Abraham appeared to him by the terebinth trees of Mamre, while he was sitting in the tent door in the heat of the day. So he lifted his eyes and looked, and saw 3 men standing opposite him. And when he saw them, he ran from the tent door to meet them, and bowed himself in the ground, and said, Yahuwah, if I have now found favor in your eyes, please do not pass your servant by. Please let a little water be brought, and wash your feet, and rest yourselves under the tree. And let me bring a piece of bread, and refresh your hearts, and then go on, for this is why you have come to your servant. And they said, Do as you have said. So Abraham ran into the tent to Sarah and said, Hurry, make ready 3 measures of fine flour, knead it, and make cakes. And Abraham ran to the herd, took a tender and good calf, gave it to a young man, and he hurried to prepare it. And he took curds and milk and the calf which he had prepared, and set it before them. And he stood by them under the tree as they ate. And they said to him, Where is Sarah your wife? And he said, See, in the tent. And he said, I shall certainly return to you according to the time of life. And see, Sarah your wife is to have a son. And Sarah was listening in the tent door which was behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah were old, well advanced in age, and Sarah was past the way of women. And Sarah laughed within herself, saying, After I have grown old, shall I have pleasure, my master being old too? And Yahuwah said to Abraham, Why did Sarah laugh, saying, Shall I truly have a child since I am old? Is any matter too hard for Yahuwah? At the appointed time I am going to return to you according to the time of life, and Sarah is to have a son. But Sarah denied it, saying, I did not laugh, for she was afraid. And he said, No, but you did laugh. And the men rose up from there, and looked toward Sodom. And Abraham went with them to send them away. And Yahuwah said, Shall I hide from Abraham what I am doing? Since Abraham is certainly going to become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him. For I have known him, so that he commands his children and his household after him to guard the way of Yahuwah, to do righteousness and right ruling, so that Yahuwah brings to Abraham what he has spoken to him. And Yahuwah said, Because the outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because their sin is very heavy, I am going down now to see whether they have done altogether according to the outcry against it that has come to me, and if not, I know. So the men turned away from there and went toward Sodom. But Yahuwah stood still before Abraham. And Abraham drew near and said, Would you also destroy the righteous with the wrong? Suppose there are 50 righteous within the city. Would you also destroy the place and not spare it for the 50 righteous that were in it? Far be it from you to act in this way, to slay the righteous with the wrong, so that the righteous should be as the wrong. Far be it from you. Does the judge of all the earth not do right? And Yahuwah said, If I find in Sodom 50 righteous within the city, then I shall spare all the place for their sakes. And Abraham answered and said, Look, please, I who am but dust and ashes have taken it upon myself to speak to Yahuwah. Suppose there are 5 less than the 50 righteous. Would you destroy all the city for lack of 5? And he said, If I find there 45, I do not destroy it. And he spoke to him yet again and said, Suppose there are found 40. And he said, I would not do it for the sake of 40. And he said, Let not Yahuwah be displeased, and let me speak. Suppose there are found 30. And he said, I would not do it if I find 30 there. And he said, Look, please, I have taken it upon myself to speak to Yahuwah. Suppose there are found 20. And he said, I would not destroy it for the sake of 20. And he said, Let not Yahuwah be displeased, and let me speak only this time. Suppose there are found 10. And he said, I would not destroy it for the sake of 10. Then Yahuwah went away as soon as he had ended speaking to Abraham, and Abraham returned to his place. Chapter 19. And the 2 messengers came to Sodom in the evening, and Lot was sitting in the gate of Sodom. And when Lot saw them, he rose up to meet them, and he bowed himself with his face toward the ground. And he said, Look, please, my masters, please turn into your servant's house and spend the night, and wash your feet, and rise early and go your way. And they said, No, but let us spend the night in the open square. But he urged them strongly, and they turned into him, and came into his house. And he made them a feast, and baked unleavened bread, and they ate. Before they lay down, the men of the city, the men of Sodom, both old and young, all the people from every part surrounded the house. And they called to Lot and said to him, Where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us, and let us know them. So Lot went out to them through the doorway and shut the door behind him, and said, "Please, my brothers, do not do evil. Look, please, I have 2 daughters who have not known a man. Please, let me bring them out to you, and do to them as you wish, only do no deed to these men, because they have come under the shadow of my roof." But they said, "Stand back." And they said, "This one came into sojourn, and should he always judge? Now we are going to treat you worse than them." So they pressed hard against the man Lot, and came near to break down the door. But the men reached out their hands and pulled Lot into the house with them and shut the door. Then they struck the men who were at the doorway of the house with blindness, both small and great, and they wearied themselves to find the door. And the men said to Lot, "Have you anyone else here, a son-in-law, and your sons, and your daughters, and whomever you have in the city? Bring them out of this place, for we are going to destroy this place, because the cry against them has grown great before the face of Yahuwah, and Yahuwah has sent us to destroy it." And Lot went out and spoke to his sons-in-law, who had married his daughters, and said, "Get up, get out of this place, for Yahuwah is going to destroy this city." But to his sons-in-law he seemed to be as one joking. And when morning dawned, the messengers urged Lot to hurry, saying, "Get up, take your wife and your 2 daughters who are here, lest you be consumed in the punishment of the city." And while he loitered, the men took hold of his hand and his wife's hand and the hands of his 2 daughters, Yahuwah having compassion on him, and they brought him out and set him outside the city. And it came to be, when they had brought them outside, that he said, "Escape for your life. Do not look behind you, nor stay anywhere in the plain. Escape to the mountains, lest you be consumed." And Lot said to them, "Oh no, Yahuwah, look, please, your servant has found favor in your eyes, and you have increased your loving commitment, which you have shown me by saving my life. But I am unable to escape to the mountains, lest calamity overtake me and I die. Look, please, this city is near enough to flee to, and it is small. Please let me escape there. Is it not a small matter? And let my life be saved?" And he said to him, "Look, I have favored you concerning this matter also, without overthrowing this city for which you have spoken. Hurry, escape there, for I am not able to do any deed until you arrive there." So the name of the city was called Zoar. The sun had risen upon the earth when Lot entered Zoar. And Yahuwah rained sulfur and fire on Sodom and Gomorrah from Yahuwah out of the heavens. So he overthrew those cities and all the plain and all the inhabitants of the cities and what grew on the ground. But his wife looked back from behind him, and she became a post of salt. And Abraham rose early in the morning and went to the place where he had stood before Yahuwah. And he looked toward Sodom and Gomorrah and toward all the land of the plain. And he looked and saw the smoke of the land, which went up like the smoke of a furnace. Thus it came to be, when Elohim destroyed the cities of the plain, that Elohim remembered Abraham, and sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow, when he overthrew the cities in which Lot had dwelt. And Lot went up out of Zoar, and dwelt in the mountains, and his 2 daughters were with him, for he was afraid to dwell in Zoar. And he and his 2 daughters dwelt in a cave. And the firstborn said to the younger, "Our father is old, and there is no man on earth to come into us, as is the way of all the earth. Come, let us make our father drink wine and lie with him, so that we preserve the seed of our father." So they made their father drink wine that night, and the firstborn went in and lay with her father, and he was not aware of it, when she lay down or when she arose. And it came to be on the next day that the firstborn said to the younger, "See, I lay with my father last night. Let us make him drink wine tonight as well, and you go in and lie with him, so that we keep the seed of our father." So they made their father drink wine that night as well. And the younger arose and lay with him, and he was not aware of it when she lay down or when she arose. Thus both the daughters of Lot became pregnant by their father. And the firstborn bore a son and called his name Moab. He is the father of the Moabites to this day. And the younger, she also bore a son and called his name Ben-Ami. He is the father of the children of Ammon to this day. Chapter 20. And Abraham set out from there to the land of the south, and sojourned between Kadesh and Shur, and stayed in Gerar. And Abraham said concerning Sarah his wife, She is my sister. And Abimelech, sovereign of Gerar, sent and took Sarah. But Elohim came to Abimelech in a dream by night, and said to him, See, you are a dead man, because of the woman whom you have taken, for she is a man's wife. However, Abimelech had not come near her, and he said, Yahuwah, would you kill a righteous nation also? Did he not say to me, She is my sister? And she, even she herself, said, He is my brother. In the integrity of my heart and in the innocence of my hands I have done this. And Elohim said to him in a dream, Yes, I know that you did this in the integrity of your heart, and so I kept you from sinning against me. For this reason I did not let you touch her. And now return the man's wife, for he is a prophet, and let him pray for you, and you live. But if you do not return her, know that you shall certainly die, you and all that are yours. So Abimelech rose early in the morning, and called all his servants, and spoke all these words in their hearing. And the men were greatly frightened. And Abimelech called Abraham, and said to him, What have you done to us? In what have I sinned against you, that you have brought on me, and on my reign, a great sin? You have done matters to me that should not be done. And Abimelech said to Abraham, What did you have in view, that you have done this matter? And Abraham said, Only because I said to myself, The fear of Elohim is not in this place, and they shall kill me for the sake of my wife. And yet she truly is my sister. She is the daughter of my father, but not the daughter of my mother, and she became my wife. And it came to be, when Elohim caused me to wander from my father's house, that I said to her, This is your loving commitment that you should do for me. In every place, wherever we go, say of me, He is my brother. Then Abimelech took sheep and cattle and male and female servants, and gave them to Abraham. And he returned Sarah his wife to him. And Abimelech said, See, my land is before you. Dwell wherever it is good in your eyes. And to Sarah he said, See, I have given your brother 1,000 pieces of silver. See, it is to you a covering of eyes before all who are with you, and before all others, and you are cleared before everyone. And Abraham prayed to Elohim, and Elohim healed Abimelech, and his wife, and his female servants, so they bore children. For Yahuwah had closed up all the wombs of the house of Abimelech, because of Sarah, Abraham's wife. Chapter 21. And Yahuwah visited Sarah as he had said, and Yahuwah did for Sarah as he had spoken. So Sarah conceived and bore Abraham a son in his old age, at the appointed time of which Elohim had spoken to him. And Abraham called the name of his son who was born to him, whom Sarah had bore to him, Yitzhak. And Abraham circumcised his son Yitzhak when he was 8 days old, as Elohim had commanded him. And Abraham was 100 years old when his son Yitzhak was born to him. And Sarah said, Elohim has made me laugh, and everyone who hears of it laughs with me. And she said, Who would have said to Abraham that Sarah would nurse children? For I have borne him a son in his old age. And the child grew and was weaned. And Abraham made a great feast on the day that Yitzhak was weaned. And Sarah saw the son of Hagar the Mitzrite, whom she had borne to Abraham, mocking. So she said to Abraham, Drive out this female servant and her son, for the son of this female servant shall not inherit with my son Yitzhak. And the matter was very evil in the eyes of Abraham because of his son. But Elohim said to Abraham, Let it not be evil in your eyes because of the boy, and because of your female servant. Whatever Sarah has said to you, listen to her voice. For in Yitzhak your seed is called. And of the son of the female servant I also make a nation, because he is your seed. And Abraham rose early in the morning, and took bread and a skin of water, which he gave to Hagar, putting it on her shoulder. Also the boy, and sent her away. And she left and wandered in the wilderness of Beersheba. And the water in the skin was used up. And she placed the boy under one of the shrubs. And she went and sat down about a bow shot away, for she said, Let me not see the death of the boy. And she sat opposite him, and lifted her voice and wept. And Elohim heard the voice of the boy, And the messenger of Elohim called to Hagar from the heavens and said to her, "What is the matter with you, Hagar? Do not fear, for Elohim has heard the voice of the boy where he is. Arise, lift up the boy and hold him with your hand, for I make a great nation of him." And Elohim opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. And she went and filled the skin with water and gave the boy a drink. And Elohim was with the boy, and he grew and dwelt in the wilderness and became an archer. And he dwelt in the wilderness of Paran, and his mother took a wife for him from the land of Mitzrayim. And it came to be at that time that Abimelech and Pichol, the commander of his army, spoke to Abraham, saying, "Elohim is with you in all that you do. And now swear to me by Elohim, not to be untrue to me, to my offspring, or to my descendants. Do to me according to the loving commitment that I have done to you, and to the land in which you have sojourned." And Abraham said, "I swear." And Abraham reproved Abimelech because of a well of water which Abimelech's servants had seized. And Abimelech said, "I do not know who has done this deed. Neither did you inform me, nor did I hear until today." So Abraham took sheep and cattle and gave them to Abimelech, and the two of them made a covenant. And Abraham set 7 ewe lambs of the flock by themselves. And Abimelech asked Abraham, "What are these 7 ewe lambs which you have set by themselves?" And he said, "Take these 7 ewe lambs from my hand to be a witness that I have dug this well." So he called that place Beersheba, because the two of them swore an oath there. And they made a covenant in Beersheba. And Abimelech rose with Pichol, the commander of his army, and they returned to the land of the Philistines. And he planted a tamarisk tree in Beersheba, and there called on the name of Yahuwah, the everlasting El. And Abraham sojourned in the land of the Philistines many days. Chapter 22. And it came to be after these events that Elohim tried Abraham and said to him, "Abraham?" And he said, "Here I am." And he said, "Take your son now, your only son Yitzhak, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah, and offer him there as an ascending offering on one of the mountains which I command you." And Abraham rose early in the morning and saddled his donkey, and took 2 of his young men with him, and Yitzhak his son. And he split the wood for the ascending offering, and arose and went to the place which Elohim had commanded him. And on the 3rd day Abraham lifted his eyes and saw the place from a distance. So Abraham said to his young men, "Stay here with the donkey while the boy and I go over there and worship, and come back to you." And Abraham took the wood of the ascending offering, and laid it on Yitzhak his son. And he took the fire in his hand and a knife, and the 2 of them went together. And Yitzhak spoke to Abraham his father and said, "My father." And he said, "Here I am, my son." And he said, "See the fire and the wood, but where's the lamb for an ascending offering?" And Abraham said, "My son, Elohim does provide for himself the lamb for an ascending offering." And the 2 of them went together, and they came to the place which Elohim had commanded him. And Abraham built a slaughter place there, and placed the wood in order. And he bound Yitzhak his son, and laid him on the slaughter place upon the wood. And Abraham stretched out his hand, and took the knife to slay his son. But the messenger of Yahuwah called to him from the heavens, and said, "Abraham, Abraham!" And he said, "Here I am." And he said, "Do not lay your hand on the boy, nor touch him, for now I know that you fear Elohim, seeing you have not withheld your son, your only son, from me." And Abraham lifted his eyes and looked, and saw behind him a ram caught in a bush by its horns. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered it up for an ascending offering instead of his son. And Abraham called the name of the place Yahuwah Yireh, as it is said to this day, "On the mountain Yahuwah provides." And the messenger of Yahuwah called to Abraham a second time from the heavens and said, "By myself I have sworn, declares Yahuwah, because you have done this and have not withheld your son, your only son, that I shall certainly bless you, and I shall certainly increase your seed as the stars of the heavens, and as the sand which is on the seashore, and let your seed possess the gates of their enemies. And in your seed all the nations of the earth shall be blessed, because you have obeyed my voice." Then Abraham returned to his young men, and they rose up and went together to Beersheba. And Abraham dwelt at Beersheba. And it came to be, after these events, that it was reported to Abraham, saying, "See, Milcah too has borne children to your brother Nahor, Ots his firstborn, and Buz his brother, and Kemuel the father of Aram, and Chesed, and Chazo, and Pildash, and Yidlaph, and Bethuel. And Bethuel brought forth Rivkah. These 8 Milcah bore to Nahor, Abraham's brother, and his concubine, whose name was Reumah, also bore Tebah, and Gaham, and Tahash, and Makkah. Chapter 23. And Sarah lived 127 years, the years of the life of Sarah. And Sarah died in Kiriath Arba, that is Hebron, in the land of Canaan. And Abraham came to mourn for Sarah and to weep for her. Then Abraham rose up from beside his dead, and spoke to the sons of Heth, saying, "I am a sojourner, and a settler among you. Give me property for a burial site among you, so that I bury my dead from my presence." And the sons of Heth answered Abraham, saying, "Hear us, my master. You are a prince of Elohim among us. Bury your dead in the choicest of our burial sites. None of us withholds from you his burial site, from burying your dead." So Abraham rose and bowed himself to the people of the land, the sons of Heth. And he spoke with them, saying, "If it is your desire that I bury my dead from my presence, hear me, and approach Ephron, son of Zohar, for me, and let me have the cave of Machpelah, which he has, which is at the end of his field. Let him give it to me for the complete amount of silver as property for a burial site among you." And Ephron dwelt among the sons of Heth. And Ephron the Hittite answered Abraham in the hearing of the sons of Heth, all who entered at the gate of his city, saying, "No, my master, listen to me. I shall give you the field and the cave that is in it. I shall give it to you in the presence of the sons of my people. I shall give it to you. Bury your dead." And Abraham bowed himself down before the people of the land. And he spoke to Ephron in the hearing of the people of the land, saying, "If only you would hear me. I shall give the amount of silver for the field. Take it from me, and let me bury my dead there." And Ephron answered Abraham, saying to him, "My master, listen to me. The land is worth 400 shekels of silver. What is that between you and me? So bury your dead." And Abraham listened to Ephron. And Abraham weighed out the silver for Ephron, which he had named in the hearing of the sons of Heth, 400 shekels of silver, currency of the merchants. Thus the field of Ephron, which was in Machpelah, which was before Mamre, the field and the cave which was in it, and all the trees that were in the field, which were within all the surrounding borders, were deeded to Abraham as a possession in the presence of the sons of Heth, before all who went in at the gate of his city. And after this Abraham buried Sarah his wife in the cave of the field of Machpelah, before Mamre, that is Hebron, in the land of Canaan. Thus the field and the cave that is in it were deeded to Abraham by the sons of Heth as property for a burial site. Chapter 24. And Abraham was old and advanced in years, and Yahuwah had blessed Abraham in every way. And Abraham said to his oldest servant of his house, who ruled over all that he had, "Please, put your hand under my thigh, so that I make you swear by Yahuwah, the Elohim of the heavens, and the Elohim of the earth, that you do not take a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites among whom I dwell, but to go to my land and to my relatives and take a wife for my son Yitzhak." And the servant said to him, "What if the woman refuses to follow me to this land? Do I then take your son back to the land from which you came?" And Abraham said to him, "Beware lest you take my son back there. Yahuwah Elohim of the heavens, who took me from my father's house and from the land of my relatives, and who spoke to me and swore to me, saying, 'To your seed I give this land,' he sends his messenger before you, and you shall take a wife for my son from there. And if the woman refuses to follow you, then you shall be released from this oath. Only do not take my son back there." Then the servant put his hand under the thigh of Abraham his master, and swore to him concerning this matter. And the servant took 10 of his master's camels and left, for all his master's good gifts were in his hand. And he arose and went to Aram Naharaim, to the city of Nahor. And he made his camels kneel down outside the city by a fountain of water at evening time, the time when women go out to draw water. And he said, Yahuwah, Elohim of my master Abraham, please cause her to meet me before this day, and show loving commitment to my master Abraham. See, I am standing here by the fountain of water, and the daughters of the men of the city are coming out to draw water. Now let it be that the young woman to whom I say, please let down your jar to let me drink, and she says, drink, and let me water your camels too. Let her be the one whom you have appointed for your servant Yitzhak, and let me know by this that you have shown loving commitment to my master. And it came to be, before he had ended speaking, that see, Rivkah, who was born to Bethuel, son of Milcah, the wife of Nahor, Abraham's brother, came out with her jar on her shoulder. And the young woman was very good-looking, a maiden, no man having known her. And she went down to the fountain, filled her jar, and came up. And the servant ran to meet her and said, please let me drink a little water from your jar. And she said, drink, my master. And she hurried and let her jar down to her hand. And when she had finished giving him a drink, she said, let me draw water for your camels too until they have finished drinking. And she hurried and emptied her jar into the trough, ran back to the fountain to draw water, and drew for all his camels. And watching her, the man remained silent, in order to know whether Yahuwah had prospered his way or not. And it came to be when the camels had finished drinking that the man took a golden nose ring, weighing 1/2 shekel, and 2 bracelets for her wrists, weighing 10 shekels of gold, and said, whose daughter are you? Please inform me, is there room in your father's house for us to spend the night? And she said to him, I am the daughter of Bethuel, Milcah's son, whom she bore to Nahor. And she said to him, we have both straw and fodder enough, and room to spend the night. And the man bowed down his head and worshipped Yahuwah. And he said, blessed be Yahuwah Elohim of my master Abraham, who has not forsaken his loving commitment and his truth toward my master. As for me, being on the way, Yahuwah led me to the house of my master's brothers. Then the young woman ran and informed those of her mother's house these matters. And Rivkah had a brother whose name was Laban. And Laban ran out to the man to the fountain. And it came to be when he saw the nose ring and the bracelets on his sister's wrists, and when he heard the words of his sister Rivkah, saying, thus the man spoke to me, that he went to the man and saw him standing by the camels at the fountain, and he said, come in, O blessed of Yahuwah! Why do you stand outside? I myself have prepared the house and a place for the camels. So the man came into the house, while he unloaded the camels and provided straw and fodder for the camels and water to wash his feet and the feet of the men who were with him, and set food before him to eat. But he said, let me not eat until I have spoken my word. And he said, speak on. And he said, I am Abraham's servant, and Yahuwah has blessed my master exceedingly, and he has become great. And he has given him flocks and herds and silver and gold and male and female servants and camels and donkeys. And Sarah, my master's wife, bore a son to my master when she was old, and he has given to him all that he has. And my master made me swear, saying, do not take a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites, in whose land I dwell, but go to my father's house and to my relatives, and take a wife for my son. And I said to my master, what if the woman does not follow me? But he said to me, Yahuwah, before whom I walk, sends his messenger with you, and shall prosper your way. And you shall take a wife for my son from the relatives and from my father's house. Then when you go to my relatives, you are to be released from this oath. And if they do not give her to you, then you are released from my oath. And this day I came to the fountain and said, Yahuwah, Elohim of my master Abraham, please, if you are prospering the way in which I am going, see, I am standing by the fountain of water. And when the young woman comes out to draw water, and I say to her, please give me a little water from your jar to drink, and she says to me, drink, and let me draw for your camels too. Let her be the woman whom Yahuwah has appointed for my master's son. I had not yet ended speaking in my heart. Then see, Rivkah was coming out with her jar on her shoulder, and she went down to the fountain and drew water. And I said to her, Please let me drink. And she hurried and let her jar down from her shoulder and said, Drink, and let me water your camels too. So I drank, and she watered the camels too. And I asked her and said, Whose daughter are you? And she said, The daughter of Bethuel, Nahor's son, whom Milcah bore to him. Then I put the nose ring on her nose and the bracelets on her wrists. And I bowed my head and worshipped Yahuwah, and blessed Yahuwah Elohim of my master Abraham, who had led me in the true way to take the daughter of my master's brother for his son. And now, if you are going to show loving commitment and truth to my master, let me know, and if not, let me know, so that I turn to the right or to the left. And Laban answered Bethuel too, and said, The matter comes from Yahuwah. We are not able to speak to you either evil or good. See, Rivkah is before you. Take her and go, and let her be your master's son's wife, as Yahuwah has spoken. And it came to be, when Abraham's servant heard their words, that he bowed himself towards the earth before Yahuwah. And the servant brought out ornaments of silver and ornaments of gold and garments, and gave them to Rivkah. He also gave costly gifts to her brother and to her mother. And he and the men who were with him ate and drank and spent the night. When they arose in the morning, he said, Let me go to my master. But her brother and her mother said, Let the young woman stay with us a few days, at least 10. Then you go. And he said to them, Do not delay me. Since Yahuwah has prospered my way, let me go so that I go to my master. And they said, Let us call the young woman and ask her. So they called Rivkah and said to her, Are you going with this man? And she said, I shall go. So they let go Rivkah their sister and her nurse, and Abraham's servant and his men. And they blessed Rivkah and said to her, Let our sister become the mother of thousands of 10,000s, and let your seed possess the gates of those who hate them. And Rivkah and her young woman arose, and they rode on the camels and followed the man. So the servant took Rivkah and left. And Yitzhak came from the way of Be'er Lahai Roi, for he dwelt in the south. And Yitzhak went out to meditate in the field in the evening. And he lifted his eyes and looked and saw the camels coming. And Rivkah lifted her eyes, and when she saw Yitzhak, she dismounted from her camel. And she said to the servant, Who is this man walking in the field to meet us? And the servant said, It is my master. So she took a veil and covered herself. And the servant told Yitzhak all the matters he had done. And Yitzhak brought her into his mother Sarah's tent. And he took Rivkah, and she became his wife, and he loved her. Thus Yitzhak was comforted after his mother's death. Chapter 25. And Abraham took another wife whose name was Keturah, and she bore him Zimran, and Yokshan, and Medan, and Midian, and Yishbak, and Shua. And Yokshak brought forth Sheba, and Dedan. And the sons of Dedan were Ashurim, and Letzushim, and Leumim. And the sons of Midian were Ephah, and Epher, and Chanok, and Abida, and Eldah. All these were the children of Keturah. Now Abraham gave all that he had to Yitzhak, but to the sons of the concubines whom Abraham had, Abraham gave gifts while he was still living, and sent them away from his son Yitzhak, eastward to the land of the east. And these are all the years of Abraham's life, which he lived, 175 years. And Abraham breathed his last, and died in a good old age, and satisfied, and was gathered to his people. And his sons Yitzhak and Ishmael buried him in the cave of Machpelah, which is before Mamre, in the field of Ephron, son of Zohar the Hittite, the fields which Abraham purchased from the sons of Heth. There Abraham was buried with Sarah his wife. And it came to be after the death of Abraham, that Elohim blessed his son Yitzhak. And Yitzhak dwelt at Be'er Lahai Roi. And this is the genealogy of Ishmael, Abraham's son, whom Hagar the Mitzrite, Sarah's female servant, bore to Abraham. And these were the names of the sons of Ishmael, by their names according to their generations. The firstborn of Ishmael, Nabayoth, then Kedar, and Adbiel, and Mibsam, and Mishma, and Duma, and Massa, Chadar, and Tama, Yetur, Naphish, and Kedema. These were the sons of Ishmael, And these were their names by their towns and their settlements, 12 chiefs according to their tribes. And these were the years of the life of Ishmael, 137 years. And he breathed his last and died, and was gathered to his people. And they dwelt from Havilah as far as Shur, which is east of Mitzrayim as you go toward Ashur. He settled before all his brothers. And this is the genealogy of Yitzhak, Abraham's son. Abraham brought forth Yitzhak, and Yitzhak was 40 years old when he took Rivkah as wife, the daughter of Bethuel, the Aramean of Padan Aram, the sister of Laban, the Aramean. And Yitzhak prayed to Yahuwah for his wife, because she was barren. And Yahuwah answered his prayer, and Rivkah his wife conceived. And within her the children struggled together. And she said, "If all is all right, why am I this way?" So she went to ask Yahuwah. And Yahuwah said to her, "2 nations are in your womb, and 2 peoples shall be separated from your body. And 1 people shall be stronger than the other, and the older serve the younger." And when the days were filled for her to give birth, and see, twins were in her womb. And the first came out red all over like a hairy garment, so they called his name Esau. And afterward his brother came out with his hand holding on to Esau's heel, so his name was called Jacob. And Yitzhak was 60 years old when she bore them. And the boys grew up, and Esau became a man knowing how to hunt, a man of the field, while Jacob was a complete man, dwelling in tents. And Yitzhak loved Esau because he ate of his wild game, but Rivkah loved Jacob. And Jacob cooked a stew, and Esau came in from the field, and he was weary. And Esau said to Jacob, "Please feed me with that same red stew, for I am weary." That is why his name was called Edom. But Jacob said, "Sell me your birthright today." And Esau said, "Look, I am going to die, so why should I have birthright?" Then Jacob said, "Swear to me today." And he swore to him, and sold his birthright to Jacob. Jacob then gave Esau bread, and stew of lentils, and he ate and drank, and rose up and left. Thus Esau despised his birthright. Chapter 26. And there was a scarcity of food in the land, beside the first scarcity of food which was in the days of Abraham. And Yitzhak went to Abimelech, sovereign of the Philistines in Gerar. And Yahuwah appeared to him and said, "Do not go down to Mitzrayim. Live in the land which I command you. Sojourn in this land, and I shall be with you and bless you. I give all these lands to you and your seed, and I shall establish the oath which I swore to Abraham your father, and I shall increase your seed like the stars of the heavens, and I shall give all these lands to your seed, and in your seed all the nations of the earth shall be blessed, because Abraham obeyed my voice and guarded my charge, my commands, my laws, and my Torot." And Yitzhak dwelt in Gerar, and when the men of the place asked about his wife, he said, "She is my sister," for he was afraid to say, "She is my wife," thinking, lest the men of the place should kill me for Rivkah, because she is good-looking. And it came to be, when he had been there a long time, that Abimelech, sovereign of the Philistines, looked through a window, and he watched and saw Yitzhak playing with Rivkah his wife. So Abimelech called Yitzhak and said, "See, truly she is your wife. So how could you say she is my sister?" And Yitzhak said to him, "Because I said, lest I die on account of her." And Abimelech said, "What is this you have done to us? One of the people had almost lain with your wife, and you would have brought guilt on us." And Abimelech commanded all his people, saying, "He who touches this man or his wife shall certainly be put to death." And Yitzhak sowed in that land, and reaped in the same year 100-fold. And Yahuwah blessed him. And the man grew great, and went forward until he became very great. And he came to have possessions of flocks, and possessions of herds, and a great body of servants. And the Philistines envied him. And the Philistines had stopped up all the wells which his father's servants had dug in the days of Abraham, his father, and filled them with dirt. And Abimelech said to Yitzhak, "Go away from us, for you are much mightier than we." So Yitzhak went from there and pitched his tent in the Wadi Gerar, and dwelt there. And Yitzhak dug again the wells of water which they had dug in the days of Abraham his father. For the Philistines had stopped them up after the death of Abraham, and he called them by the names which his father had called them. But when Yitzhak's servants dug in the wadi and found a well of running water there, the herdsmen of Gerar strove with Yitzhak's herdsmen, saying, "The water is ours." And he called the name of the well Esek, because they strove with him. And they dug another well, and they strove over that one too. And he called its name Sitnah. And he moved from there and dug another well, and they did not strive over it. And he called its name Rehoboth, and said, "For now Yahuwah has made room for us, and we shall be fruitful in the land." And from there he went up to Beersheba. And Yahuwah appeared to him in the same night, and said, "I am the Elohim of your father Abraham. Do not fear, for I am with you, and shall bless you and increase your seed for my servant Abraham's sake." And he built a slaughter place there, and called on the name of Yahuwah. And he pitched his tent there, and the servants of Yitzhak dug a well there. And Abimelech came to him from Gerar, with Ahuzath, one of his friends, and Pikol, the commander of his army. And Yitzhak said to them, "Why have you come to me, seeing you have hated me, and have sent me away from you?" But they said, "We have clearly seen that Yahuwah is with you." And we said, "Please, let there be an oath between us and between you and us, and let us make a covenant with you, that you do no evil to us, as we have not touched you, and as we have done only good toward you, and have sent you away in peace. You are now blessed by Yahuwah." And he made them a feast, and they ate and drank. And they rose early in the morning and swore an oath with one another. And Yitzhak let them go, and they departed from him in peace. And on the same day it came to be that the servants of Yitzhak came and informed him about the well which they had dug, and said to him, "We have found water." So he called it Sheba. Therefore the name of the city is Beersheba to this day. And when Esau was 40 years old, he took as wives Yehudath, the daughter of Berari the Hittite, and Basemath, the daughter of Elon the Hittite. And they were a bitterness of spirit to Yitzhak and Rivkah. Chapter 27. And it came to be when Yitzhak was old, and his eyes were too dim to see, that he called Esau his elder son, and said to him, "My son." And he answered him, "Here I am." And he said, "See, now I am old. I do not know the day of my death. Now then, please take your weapons, your quiver and your bow, and go out to the field and hunt wild game for me, and make me a tasty dish such as I love, and bring it to me to eat, in order that my being does bless you before I die." And Rivkah heard when Yitzhak spoke to Esau his son. And Esau went to the field to hunt wild game and to bring it. And Rivkah spoke to Jacob her son, saying, "See, I heard your father speak to Esau your brother, saying, 'Bring me wild game and make me a tasty dish to eat, and bless you in the presence of Yahuwah before my death. And now, my son, listen to my voice. According to what I command you, please go to the flock and bring me 2 choice young goats, and I make a tasty dish from them for your father, such as he loves. And you shall take it to your father, and he shall eat it, so that he might bless you before his death.' And Jacob said to Rivkah his mother, 'See, Esau my brother is a hairy man, and I am a smooth-skinned man. What if my father touches me? Then I shall be like a deceiver in his eyes, and shall bring a curse on myself, and not a blessing.' But his mother said to him, 'Let your curse be on me, my son. Only obey my voice, and go, get them for me.' And he went and fetched them, and brought them to his mother. And his mother made a tasty dish, such as his father loved. And Rivkah took the best garments of her elder son Esau, which were with her in the house, and put them on Jacob her younger son. And she put the skins of the young goats on his hands, and on the smooth part of his neck. Then she gave the tasty dish and the bread, which she had prepared, into the hand of her son Jacob. And he went to his father and said, 'My father.' And he said, 'Here I am. Who are you, my son?' And Jacob said to his father, 'I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done as you said to me. Please, rise, sit, and eat of my wild game, so that your being might bless me.' But Yitzhak said to his son, 'How is it that you found it so quickly, my son?' And he said, because Yahuwah your Elohim brought it to me." Then Yitzhak said to Jacob, "Please come near, so that I feel you, my son, whether you are truly my son Esau or not." And Jacob went near to Yitzhak his father, and he felt him and said, "The voice is the voice of Jacob, but the hands are the hands of Esau." And he did not recognize him, for his hands were hairy like his brother Esau's hands, and he blessed him. And he said, "Are you truly my son Esau?" And he said, "I am." And he said, "Bring it near to me, and let me eat of my son's wild game, so that my being might bless you." So he brought it near to him, and he ate. And he brought him wine, and he drank. And his father Yitzhak said to him, "Please come near and kiss me, my son." And he came near and kissed him. And he smelled the smell of his garments, and blessed him, and said, "See, the smell of my son is like the smell of a field, which Yahuwah has blessed. And Elohim give you of the dew of the heavens, of the fatness of the earth, and plenty of grain and wine. Let people serve you, and nations bow down to you. Be master over your brothers, and let your mother's sons bow down to you. Cursed be those cursing you, and blessed be those blessing you." And it came to be, as soon as Yitzhak had finished blessing Jacob, and Jacob had hardly left the presence of Yitzhak his father, that Esau his brother came in from his hunting. And he too made a tasty dish, and brought it to his father, and said to his father, "Let my father rise and eat of his son's wild game, so that your being might bless me." And his father Yitzhak said to him, "Who are you?" And he said, "I am your son, your firstborn Esau." Then Yitzhak trembled exceedingly and said, "Who was it then who hunted wild game and brought it to me? And I ate all of it before you came, and I have blessed him. Yes, he is blessed." When Esau heard the words of his father, he cried with an exceedingly great and bitter cry, and said to his father, "Bless me, me too, O my father." And he said, "Your brother came with deceit and took your blessing." And Esau said, "Was his name then called Yaakov? For he has caught me by the heel these 2 times. He took my birthright, and see, now he has taken my blessing." And he said, "Have you not reserved a blessing for me?" Then Yitzhak answered and said to Esau, "See, I have made him your master, and all his brothers I have given to him as servants, and I have sustained him with grain and wine. And what then shall I do for you, my son?" And Esau said to his father, "Have you only one blessing, my father? Bless me, me too, O my father." And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Yitzhak his father answered and said to him, "See, your dwelling is of the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of the heavens from above. And by your sword you are to live, and serve your brother. And it shall be, when you grow restless, that you shall break his yoke from your neck." And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing with which his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, "The days of mourning for my father draw near. Then I am going to kill my brother Jacob." And the words of Esau her older son were reported to Rivkah, and she sent and called Jacob her younger son, and said to him, "See, your brother Esau comforts himself concerning you, to kill you. And now, my son, listen to my voice and rise. Flee to my brother Laban in Haran, and stay with him a few days until your brother's wrath turns away, until your brother's displeasure turns away from you, and he forgets what you have done to him. And I shall send and bring you from there. Why should I be bereaved of you both in one day?" And Rivkah said to Yitzhak, "I am disgusted with my life because of the daughters of Heth. If Yaakov takes a wife from the daughters of Heth, like these who are the daughters of the land, what is my life to me?" Chapter 28. And Yitzhak called Yaakov and blessed him and commanded him and said to him, "Do not take a wife from the daughters of Canaan. Arise, go to Padan Aram, to the house of Bethuel, your mother's father, and take a wife for yourself from there, from the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother. And El Shaddai bless you, and make you fruitful and increase you, and you shall become an assembly of peoples, and give you the blessing of Abraham to you, and your seed with you, so that you inherit the land of your sojournings, which Elohim gave to Abraham. So Yitzhak sent Yaakov away, and he went to Padan Aram, to Laban, son of Bethuel, the Aramean, the brother of Rivkah, the mother of Jacob and Esau. And Esau saw that Yitzhak had blessed Jacob and sent him away to Padan Aram to take himself a wife from there, and that as he blessed him, he gave him a command, saying, "Do not take a wife from the daughters of Canaan." And that Jacob had obeyed his father and his mother, and had gone to Padan Aram. So Esau saw that the daughters of Canaan did not please his father Yitzhak. And Esau went to Ishmael, and took Mahalaleth, the daughter of Ishmael, Abraham's son, the sister of Nebaioth, to be his wife, besides the wives he had. And Jacob went out from Beersheba, and went toward Haran. And he came upon a place and stopped over for the night, for the sun had set. And he took one of the stones of that place and put it at his head, and he lay down in that place to sleep. And he dreamed, and saw a ladder set up on the earth, and its top reached to the heavens, and saw messengers of Elohim going up and coming down on it. And see, Yahuwah stood above it and said, "I am the Elohim of Abraham your father, and the Elohim of Yitzhak. The land on which you are lying, I give it to you and your seed. And your seed shall be as the dust of the earth, and you shall break forth to the west and to the east, to the north and to the south. And all the clans of the earth shall be blessed in you and in your seed. And see, I am with you, and shall guard you wherever you go, and shall bring you back to this land. For I am not going to leave you until I have done what I have spoken to you." And Jacob awoke from his sleep, and said, "Truly, Yahuwah is in this place, and I did not know it." And he was afraid, and said, "How awesome is this place! This is none other than the house of Elohim, and this is the gate of the heavens." And Jacob rose early in the morning, and took the stone that he had put at his head, set it up as a standing column, and poured oil on top of it. And he called the name of that place Bethel. However, the name of that city had been Luz previously. And Jacob made a vow, saying, "Seeing Elohim is with me, and has kept me in this way that I am going, and has given me bread to eat and a garment to put on, when I have returned to my father's house in peace, and Yahuwah has been my Elohim, then this stone which I have set as a standing column shall be Elohim's house. And of all that you give me, I shall certainly give a tenth to you." Chapter 29. And Jacob lifted up his feet and came to the land of the sons of the east. And he looked, and saw a well in the field, and saw 3 flocks of sheep lying by it. For out of that well they watered the flocks. And a large stone was on the well's mouth, and all the flocks would be gathered there. Then they would roll the stone from the well's mouth and water the sheep, and put the stone back in its place on the well's mouth. So Jacob said to them, "My brothers, where are you from?" And they said, "We are from Haran." And he said to them, "Do you know Laban, son of Nahor?" And they said, "We know him." So he said to them, "Is he well?" And they said, "Well. And see, his daughter Rachel is coming with the sheep." And he said, "See, it is still high day, not the time for the livestock to be gathered together. Water the sheep and go and feed them." But they said, "We are not allowed until all the flocks are gathered together, and they have rolled the stone from the well's mouth. Then we shall water the sheep." While he was still speaking with them, Rachel came with her father's sheep, for she was a shepherdess. And it came to be when Jacob saw Rachel, the daughter of Laban, his mother's brother, and the sheep of Laban, his mother's brother, that Jacob went near, and rolled the stone from the well's mouth, and watered the flock of Laban, his mother's brother. And Jacob kissed Rachel, and lifted up his voice and wept. And when Jacob told Rachel that he was her father's relative, and that he was Rivkah's son, she ran and told her father. And it came to be when Laban heard the report about Jacob, his sister's son, that he ran to meet him, and embraced him, and kissed him, and brought him to his house. Then he told Laban all these matters. And Laban said to him, You are indeed my bone and my flesh. And he stayed with him for a new moon. Then Laban said to Yaakov, Because you are my relative, should you therefore serve me for naught? Let me know what should your wages be. And Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the elder was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. And Leah's eyes were weak, but Rachel was beautiful of form and beautiful of appearance. And Yaakov loved Rachel, so he said, Let me serve you 7 years for Rachel, your younger daughter. And Laban said, It is better that I give her to you than that I should give her to another man. Stay with me. So Yaakov served 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed to him but a few days because of the love he had for her. Then Yaakov said to Laban, Give me my wife, for my days are completed, and let me go in to her. And Laban gathered all the men of the place and made a feast. And it came to be in the evening that he took Leah his daughter and brought her to Yaakov, and he went in to her. And Laban gave his female servant Zilpah to his daughter Leah as a female servant. And in the morning it came to be that, see, it was Leah. So he said to Laban, What is this you have done to me? Was it not for Rachel that I served you? Why then have you deceived me? And Laban said, It is not done this way in our place, to give the younger before the firstborn. Complete the week of this one, then we give you this one too, for the service which you shall serve with me still another 7 years. And Yaakov did so, and completed her week. Then he gave him his daughter Rachel too as wife. And Laban gave his female servant Bilhah to his daughter Rachel as a female servant. And he also went into Rachel, and he also loved Rachel more than Leah. And he served with Laban still another 7 years. And Yahuwah saw that Leah was unloved, and he opened her womb, but Rachel was barren. And Leah conceived and bore a son, and she called his name Reuben, for she said, For Yahuwah has looked on my affliction, because now my husband is going to love me. And she conceived again and bore a son, and said, Because Yahuwah has heard that I am unloved, he gave me this son too. And she called his name Shimon. And she conceived again and bore a son, and said, Now this time my husband is joined to me, because I have borne him 3 sons. So his name was called Levi. And she conceived again and bore a son, and said, Now I praise Yahuwah. So she called his name Yehudah. And she ceased bearing. Chapter 30. And when Rachel saw that she bore Yaakov no children, Rachel envied her sister, and said to Yaakov, Give me children, or else I am going to die. And Yaakov's displeasure burned against Rachel, and he said, Am I in the place of Elohim, who has withheld from you the fruit of the womb? And she said, See my female servant Bilhah, go into her, and let her bear for me, and let me be built up from her as well. So she gave him Bilhah, her female servant, as wife. And Yaakov went into her. And Bilhah conceived and bore to Yaakov a son. And Rachel said, Elohim has rightly ruled my case, and has also heard my voice and given me a son. So she called his name Dan. And Rachel's female servant, Bilhah, conceived again, and bore to Yaakov a second son. And Rachel said, With great wrestlings I have wrestled with my sister, and I have overcome. So she called his name Naphtali. And Leah saw that she had ceased bearing, and she took Zilpah, her female servant, and gave her to Yaakov as wife. And Leah's female servant Zilpah bore Yaakov a son. And Leah said, Fortune comes. So she called his name Gad. And Leah's female servant Zilpah bore Yaakov a second son. And Leah said, I am happy, for the daughter shall call me happy. So she called his name Asher. And Reuben went in the days of wheat harvest, and found love apples in the field, and brought them to his mother Leah. And Rachel said to Leah, Please give me some of your son's love apples. But she said to her, Is it a small matter that you have taken away my husband? Would you take away my son's love apples too? And Rachel said, Therefore let him lie with you tonight for your son's love apples. And when Yaakov came out of the field in the evening, Leah went out to meet him and said, Do come in to me, for indeed I have hired you with my son's love apples. And he lay with her that night. And Elohim listened to Leah, and she conceived and bore Yaakov a fifth son. And Leah said, Elohim has given me my hire, because I have given my female servant to my husband. So she called his name Yissachar. And Leah conceived again and bore Yaakov a sixth son. And Leah said, Elohim has presented me with a good present. Now my husband is going to dwell with me, because I have borne him 6 sons. So she called his name Zebulun. And afterward she bore a daughter and called her name Dinah. And Elohim remembered Rachel, and Elohim listened to her and opened her womb. And she conceived and bore a son and said, Elohim has taken away my reproach. So she called his name Joseph, and said, Yahuwah has added to me another son. And it came to be when Rachel had borne Joseph, that Jacob said to Laban, Send me on my way, to go to my own place and to my land. Give my wives and my children for whom I have served you, and let me go, for you yourself know my service which I have done for you. And Laban said to him, If I have found favor in your eyes, please stay, for I have diligently watched that Yahuwah has blessed me for your sake. And he said, Name me your wages, and I give it. So he said to him, You know how I have served you, and how your livestock has been with me. For the little you had before I came has greatly increased. And Yahuwah has blessed you since my coming. But now, when I am to provide for my own house too. And he said, What do I give you? And Jacob said, Give me naught. If you do this for me, I shall again feed and guard your flocks. Let me pass through all your flock today, removing from there all speckled and spotted sheep, and all the black ones among the lambs, and the spotted and speckled among the goats. And these shall be my wages, and my righteousness shall answer for me in time to come. When you come concerning my wages, every one that is not speckled and spotted among the goats, and black among the lambs, it is stolen if it is with me. And Laban said, See, let it be according to your word. And on that day he set aside the male goats that were speckled and spotted, and all the female goats that were speckled and spotted, every one that had some white in it, and all the black ones among the lambs, and gave them into the hand of his sons. And he put 3 days' journey between himself and Jacob. And Jacob fed the rest of Laban's flocks. And Jacob took for himself rods of green poplar, and of the almond and chestnut trees, and peeled white strips in them, and exposed the white which was in the rods. And he set the rods which he had peeled before the flocks in the gutters, in the watering troughs where the flocks came to drink, and they conceived when they came to drink. So the flocks conceived before the rods, and the flocks brought forth streaked, speckled, and spotted. And Jacob separated the lambs, and made the flocks face toward the streaked, and all black in the flock of Laban. But he put his own flocks by themselves, and did not put them with Laban's flock. And it came to be, whenever the strong ones of the flock conceived, that Jacob placed the rods before the eyes of the flock in the gutters, so they would conceive among the rods. But when the flocks were weak, he did not put them in. So the weak ones were Laban's, and the strong ones Jacob's. Thus the man increased very much, and had many flocks, and female and male servants, and camels and donkeys.